morning, everybody. I'm so excited. We've got the Mushroom Ladies back with us. It's Diana and Kristen. Hey, y'all. And I'm trying to cross my legs underneath my desk, and my desk is really little. So if it looks like I'm falling out of my chair, I might. It's been a day, y'all.
I can tell. I love the y'all. I get off with her and I'm like, y'all.
And I hope our audiences catch this on the replay because honestly, I had another show I had to do and we didn't get off the air until almost like 12:15 or 12:30. So it's kind of been almost back to back. And I don't pay for the biggest StreamYard, so I can only put one show in at a time. And it was going to be too difficult to reload Rumble. So last time we were on 3 channels at once, ladies. And today we're just on YouTube, and I'm going to have to load it on my Rumble channels after we get through. So our audience live is a little bit slim today because I don't have my full house going. So I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries. We're
good. We're just happy to be here with you. And people will catch us later.
Yes. I learned a lot of the pet people that kind of are in my tribe. Most of them work. So a lot of them will catch it after work. So we're so glad everybody's here today. And when they do chime in, that they're going to see all the amazing things that you have to offer to the pets. But I'm excited because Charlie has decided he likes to ride. Now, he don't like to ride once he gets to riding. And he's really ready to be home as soon as we get in the car and leave. But he really likes to get in the car and go nowhere. But I know he walks. We have a Buick Enclave. So the back seat's not a bench. It's captain seats. And he'll get on one side and look out the window for a minute over there. And then he gets on the other side and looks out the window over there. And I know y'all are probably fixing to scold me because he does things like that. So we're going to talk about safety for our pets while we travel today.
Yeah. I'm excited and I'm so happy that you want to bring this topic up because it's a topic that I did a 2-hour training on it a year ago, and I was blown away at how many people came up to me with tears rolling down their face because they thought they were doing the right thing for their animal and they didn't realize some of the things we're going to talk about. So I'm so proud to be here with you. We love you and we're excited for this opportunity. And I've met some of the people in your community and they're just lovely. Miss Annie, oh, what a doll baby. And I'm just hoping we can help more people with their fur babies. And we have a line of products, but today we're going to more talk about some other things that are important: heat exhaustion, feet on hot pavement, traveling with pets because it's that time of year. These are important things. So the most important thing when we travel with our pet is to make sure that they're safe, that they're happy, and they're comfortable in that order. So safe doesn't always mean the best. Okay, so first of all, every animal needs a go bag. They have to have a little go bag. And it's important that their go bag has everything that you need in it. So I've got a water dish. I've got my little baby's muzzle because he may need to be muzzled at times. And I've got his little poop bag. And then inside, I'm going to talk a little bit about what I have. I have the medical kit. I have a tick puller. I have Benadryl in case they get bit by a snake. I have snippers and side cutters in case they bite into a fish hook, which happens all the time. I have a little piece of twine and a little itsy bitsy rod. We've seen dogs swallow fish hooks, and you've got to grab that twine and wrap a rod around and put the little rod in its mouth until you can get it to the hospital. Understand that just having a few little things in their go bag, their medical records, very important. In a bad situation, like if you get evacuated, if you don't have your dog's medical records, your dog's not going with you. Little things that a lot of us just don't think about. Also, when you travel, make sure you know the local threats. We were in Florida recently and we learned about a toad, that if a dog sniffs it, it'll kill the dog. It'll kill the dog. I had no idea, and they were everywhere. So again, I was bad. I didn't know the local threats. learn what the local threats are. Just Google, what's the local threat to my dog or my cat or my goat or whatever I'm traveling with. But it's important that you guys understand.
Okay, let me push pause just a second, because if everybody's like me just now, I'm probably going to have to go back and watch this, because I'm not going to take notes to where I can't watch what y'all are saying. But y'all, she's saying a lot of stuff. Y'all better be writing this down, because like we should have had bullet points and had like told y'all to get a notepad. Okay, go ahead.
If they want to email me at trinaspets@gmail, I can send them this list. I'd be happy to.
If you will email that to me, I will put it out in our room, and I will put it in the description on this video also. Yeah. So y'all can just highlight and print it if you don't like to take notes.
That's right. Because it's a lot we're going to talk about. You know, a lot of us travel with our dogs, and you started off in the back room telling us a little bit about how your pup likes to run around in the car, and I'm going to scold you because they really shouldn't be running around in the car. And I'm going to tell you a really sad story. We had a woman who had her little doggie on a pillow on her lap, and they were on vacation. They got broadsided. The airbag went off. The dog went into her face, broke bones in her face, and killed the dog. She truly thought her dog on her lap was the best place for that dog to be. I went 7,000 miles with my dog on my lap until I heard that story and started really researching the best way to travel with a pet. Having them in a crate, probably the safest thing you can do, if you can do it. If not, there's all kinds of little things, like this is a seatbelt tether. You put this into the seatbelt, and then you tether this onto their collar. That's a great thing to do. There's also, you can buy leashes. This is a leash, but the leash has a little seatbelt hook. So you can just hook this leash right into the seatbelt. So now your dog is tethered. They have these wonderful little things that go over the headrest that go right to the collar. So you can tether your dog to the headrest. So why is it important to tether your dog? In an accident, a dog's instinct is fight or flight. We know that to be true. They will just bolt because that's their instinct. We think, oh, my doggy wouldn't leave me. We had a friend, rolled their card 3 times. Dogs were all ejected. Right there is dangerous, through broken glass. One of them took off down the highway, and mama was chasing it with a broken leg because her dog was running, because it's that flight or fight syndrome. So it is really important that you restrain your dog somehow. Make sure that your animals have a microchip, but not everybody has a microchip reader. So some form of ID is critical with a current phone number in case your dog does get out. When you're out in the middle of nowhere is the worst time to let your dog off leash. People will say, oh, I let my dog run in the desert. Well, that's when he's going to find a snake and get bit. That's when he's going to hear a bad noise. It's going to scare him. He's going to take off running, and you may never find him again. We actually were in the desert searching for 3 days for an 18-month-old golden retriever who got spooked by a helicopter because he was off leash, and they never found it. And we're pretty convinced the coyotes found it first. So when you're out in a big area, just have them on a 100-foot tether, something you can reel back in if they start to get in trouble. Because if they see something, they're going to go after it. And a lot of times it's a snake. So that brings us to snake bites when you're traveling. If your dog gets bit by a snake, the most important thing to do is, first of all, always kind of know where the vet is. You know, like if you're going to be in a town for a couple of days visiting, know where the local hospital is, because the worst thing to do is have to look it up when your dog is literally dying. Benadryl isn't always the answer for a snake bite. So, because certain venoms don't do well with it. I know it's what some people will say, but one of the best things you can do when an animal gets bit by a snake is get a picture of the snake. If you possibly can get a picture of the snake without getting hurt, get a picture of the snake. One of the other things that happens a lot is that we change their water when we travel. And that puts all kinds of crazy bacteria into their system that they're not used to, and can cause diarrhea, can cause upset stomach. They're already stressed out enough because you're traveling with them. So, our immune supplements are really important to have them be taken before a trip so that their body is as strong as possible. By going to trinawpets.com, you can see our Coriolis versicolor pet products that will help their immune system be as strong as it can be. Also, have flea and tick. Yeah, the mush puppies. Have flea and tick and trigger spray. This is one of the worst things that can happen to an animal when they're out and about, is that they get chiggers on them or they get fleas. And, we don't have that here. That's foreign to us. So when we travel,
we're in the land of all the above.
Oh, yeah. And they can really do damage. So it's always good that you have some kind of natural, there's all kinds of wonderful natural sprays you can use.
I want to inject one thing on that for everybody that I use for Charlie, since I have a lot of Southern folks that watch me and follow me. I have found Dr. Bonner's peppermint shampoo, and that peppermint, the actual essential oil, I don't really put it on his skin because I don't know how his skin would react.
Yes.
But I do shampoo him in that shampoo, and I do dilute it a little bit. I mean, I put a little in my hand, or actually Wayne does. He's the dog shower. I get to do the drying and the grooming. So that was told to me by a dog trainer that trains dogs for Westminster.
Yes.
And he said that is the best natural flea and tick that he has found here in the South, is the peppermint castor oil shampoo by Dr. Bonner's. And
that's really good to know.
And I don't have that link below, but after the show, I'll go grab it and drop that link below.
And being all natural is really important because peppermint is a natural repellent. And the other thing is, being aware, if you're traveling and you're staying somewhere, before you come in, make sure you're checking your dog for fleas and ticks, and make sure that you're checking for those things, because most of our dogs sleep with us. They'll end up in bed with us, and then we're going to end up getting bit too. So it's important. So that's what keeps them safe, and that's important, and that's what keeps them healthy. Now, what keeps them calm is definitely comfort things. Like if you're going to stay in an RV, they've already got all of your wonderful smells. But if you're in a hotel or you're staying at someone's house, bring some sheets. Don't launder them first. Bring some bed sheets, bring some blankets, bring some things where their olfactory, which is 1,000 times more sensitive than ours, can start to make him feel like, oh, this is cool. I know this smell. I'm comfortable here. And it literally takes them down a notch. The other thing that's really important when you're out and about with your dog is pick up its poop. And I know some people say, oh, we're out in the desert. What harm is there if I let him poop? If a donkey or a wild burro eats dog poop, it can literally make them sick because they're not used to what came out of that dog. It also goes into the water system. One of the worst things we can do anywhere that we're at is not pick up our dog's poop. So pick up your dog's poop. It's not that hard. Keep Band-Aids. Keep things that you can use for a splint in case your dog were to break his leg, because it does happen. Just be aware that when we're traveling with our animals, we owe them safety. And sometimes we don't think about these little things that, can happen. We think it's really cute when they're running all over the car until we get broadsided, and then it becomes tragic. Yeah. So the other thing is that we talked about, and Kristen's going to talk a little bit about heat stroke and nutrition, but I'm going to talk about hot pavement. Hot pavement, guys, hot pavement. I am going to get shot one day because I see somebody walking down the street here when it's 110. I have no filters. I will walk out and say, hey, take off your shoe and walk barefoot. I'm going to get shot one day. One day you're going to see my obituary. She was trying to save a dog's pads. It makes me crazy that people that just don't realize if the air temperature is 86 degrees, the asphalt is 135. If you can't put your foot on it and stand on it
or even just your palm.
Even your palm. Take off those shoes and put your foot down and see how it feels. It's not that hard. Either don't walk them or get some booties. And I know those booties are challenging. What I've learned is baby socks. Baby socks work really well. It's not perfect. Right. It's not perfect, but it's certainly better than their bare paw pads being out there. But let's say that it happens. We've all made the mistake of letting them jump out and burn their paw pads. Understand that if they're burned, the first thing you need to do is put their paws under cold water, cool water, not ice water. Don't dip them in ice cubes. That's too much of a shock to their body. Cool water, some compresses, and then assess. If you've got chunks of the paw coming off, get them to the hospital immediately, because we have seen that happen. This is one of my pet peeves in the summer, is watching people that just, it makes me crazy. I don't know what it is, but I am going to get shot someday because I'm going to tell the wrong person to take off their shoes and walk on the pavement.
Well, that's another thing that from living in the South, when this last week it was I think it was 104 heat index a couple of our days. We have a pool with a lot of concrete around it. And I tell everybody, don't walk out to the pool without your flip-flops. You're not going to make it from the chair to the pool without your flip-flops. And then when you get in the pool, flip your flip-flops upside down so they don't get hot. Yeah. And you can put them back on to get back to the chair.
Exactly.
And we have concrete. That's not asphalt. Asphalt and concrete are two different levels. But I'm just going to tell you, concrete's only going to be about 5 or 10 degrees less than the asphalt. It still is going to cook your dog's paws. So don't think that just because these signs and these memes say asphalt, that it's any cooler for your dog's paws.
Well, and you can lay towels out around for the dogs to run on. We have cool decking here where we live. It's going to be 120, and the way cool decking works is they can still walk on it. But also, while they're traveling, think about some comfort items like some chew toys. We have all natural hemp rope that they can chew on. I know Charlie's loving his new antler. These antlers are filled with minerals, and it can keep them busy. And they love them. So again, you want to occupy their time so they're not bored while you're traveling, and then they won't get in trouble and chew up a door frame on a door because they were just bored. But yeah, there's so many things that we can do, that we owe it to our animals, that when we're traveling, we keep them comfortable, we keep them safe, and we keep them happy.
Absolutely. And you were talking about the sheets. I think that is just like a profound statement. Charlie on our bed actually has his own quilt. It's like almost the size of what would be on a baby's bed.
Yeah.
That size. And it lays perfect between us on our king bed. And when we travel, we have another one that he sleeps. He has two. One's for travel and one's for our bed, but they both have his smell on it.
Oh, yeah.
And so that is very important, because they are in a new place. And if we forget it, he's restless that night.
Yeah.
So
and
that is
on point. Before you leave, let it have a good few days of smell on it. Everybody wants to make everything all nice and fresh for the trip, and that's not the best thing to do for the dog. They love the familiarity of the smells.
And when we carry it, we usually fold it and lay it. And I know I don't tether him in the back seat of the car, but we do lay blankets in both back seats. So when he goes back and forth, he's not clawing the seats, but he wallows those in the car. So his smell is on those very well by the time we get where we're going.
Well, and you just brought up a really good point. He likes to go back and forth. They have the tethers that go from left to right that you clip up on the clothes hooks, and then they can be tethered on that line. Mm-hmm. He can still run back and forth, but he's not going to be ejected from the car in the case of an accident. So those are Yay. And then Crystal, I think, is going to talk a little bit about heat stroke, because this is something that a lot of people just don't realize what to do and how to recognize heat stroke.
I'll, I'll tell you my tragedy after you talk about it.
Yeah, heat stroke is really challenging because when we get heat stroke, we can tell. My head hurts. I feel this. I feel that. They can't tell us how they're feeling. They can't tell us what's happening. And when it gets super hot in their own body, their own thermoregulation system it gets overwhelmed and it literally cannot cool down the body. And, Diana was talking about immune support. I think always immune support is the first thing that you should be doing. You go to trinawpets.com and get some immune support for your pets before you go on trips. Yes. That will help a lot. Or before you take them out, that'll help a lot. It'll help their thermoregulation system work better at regulating that body temperature. But the problem with heat exhaustion and heat stroke is that it can be fatal. Like it can actually take their lives, which is horrific. And there are certain breeds that are more prone to it than other breeds. Anyone that has pugs or bulldogs or terriers where they have the shorter necks, they have a narrower windpipe. It's harder for them to regulate their body temperatures. So they're more prone to heat stroke, especially if you have an overweight pet. Yeah. Or if your pet is super young or super old, like very, very old or very, very young. They're too young to be able to, their body hasn't developed in that way yet enough, or they're so old that their body's tired and is unable to regulate it properly. And then also pets that have cardiac issues. So if you do have a pet in any of those categories, just know that they're more prone to heat stroke. So you really got to be on the lookout and paying close attention anytime they're in a warm area. And then if you do see some of the symptoms of heat stroke, it's very important that you act as quickly as possible. And just so you know what some of the symptoms are, it can be a little challenging because the symptoms do sound like just normal things that dogs do, so it's like, well, like drooling, for example, is one of the symptoms. Well, my dog drools all the time. So we're talking about excessive drooling. So we're talking about if you notice these things more than the normal amount that your dog does. So excessive panting, more than they normally do, difficulty breathing. If they have an increased heart rate or they're breathing faster and more shallow, if they're excessively drooling, if you notice that they are appearing to be very weak or lethargic, or sometimes they'll even collapse, and they'll be in like a stupor, and you'll be like, well, where's my dog? You can't see anything behind their eyes. Also, if they just keep drinking and drinking and drinking and don't seem to be satiated, if they just have this excessive thirst, that's another symptom of it. And then one that appears a little bit later after they've had heat stroke or heat exhaustion for a while, they'll start vomiting or they'll get diarrhea just suddenly, right? So if you notice any of those things with your pets while you're out in a warm area, there are some steps that you have to do, and you have to do them as quickly as possible to prevent it from being fatal. So the very first thing is get them into a cool area as fast as you can, whether that's indoors or if you can find shade from anything, just get them into your car, whatever it may be, get them into a cooler area as quickly as you can. And then you're going to want to wet them with cool water, not cold ice water, because that can actually shock their system and can give the opposite effect of what you're trying to do. So just a cool water, you want to start rinsing them off with that. If you have access to a fan, put them in front of a fan to dry them, and then also give them cool water to drink. And I know when our pets are going through that, our instinct is ice. We want to give them ice water, or give them something super, super cold so that we can cool them down as quickly as possible. But again, that can really shock their system and have an adverse reaction. So you just want to use cool water that's not too cold for them to drink, that's closer to the temperature of their body, so it doesn't shock it. And once they do go through any type of heat exhaustion or heat stroke, you can get them back to a regulated body temperature, but they're going to be feeling the effects from it for a while. Like it's going to take them a while to recover. And it's very unpleasant for them. So again, like those mush puppies that you popped up, Trina, or if you have like the dog super sauce, anything, any of the things with that Coriolis versicolor mushroom to help their immune system, be supported so their immune system can regulate all of the systems, because it affects more than one system once they get to that stage. And the recovery is awful. So you can really help accelerate that recovery and help the body get back to normal by equipping their immune system and giving it that little bit of extra support. But this is something that, you know, I wish we were all taught these things right when we get a pet, because you don't think, of course they're panting, of course they're drilling, it's hot outside, but you don't realize what is actually happening inside of their body and how detrimental it can really be, and what to do. You know,
give them an ice cube.
Yeah, here, oh yeah, have them suck on an ice cube. That'll help. It's like the opposite of what we should do. You know.
What I was going to put on that one point, and especially living here in the South on days that it's not just the heat, but the heat indexed. And, you know, they're always warning the people, but you don't really, they mention pets, but they don't really drill that into your mind. And I think it was probably, we're fixing to have our 28th wedding anniversary, and we got Taz probably a couple years after we got married. So I'm going to say it's been 26 years ago, 25, 26. And we had adopted, yes, his name was Taz, because he was like the Tasmanian devil. He was a full-blood Schipperke.
Yeah, I love him.
And he looked like a concrete block with little legs. I mean, that's the best description. He didn't have a tail. And his hair on his back even grew kind of flat. And so he was a mess. But we had a guy, y'all, coming to do something for our pool that morning. And Wayne and I both had to go to work that day. And one of those long 100-foot tethers, we'd put him water out. And the guy was supposed to have been here at 8:30 in the morning. Well, that's not not, you know, it ain't 100 degrees at 8 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, 8:30. So we hooked him on the wire on our fence in the backyard. And we told the guy, you make sure you call us when you leave. And I had a nephew that was just, you know, 30 seconds from my house on a four-wheeler. And I said, I will call him, and after you leave, because Taz did not really like strangers at all. He was a little snippy. So we didn't want the guy trying to unhook him. And my nephew was used to the dog. So we sent him down, and I'm going to say he came down by about 9:45. So we're talking like he probably was not on there over an hour, hour and a half. He had water. It was in the sun, but we were thinking it was early in the morning.
Sure. Can't be that bad.
He was dead by the time my nephew got here. We were broken. But I mean, you just, you know, you don't even think about it being, because it was not that hot.
Yeah.
But he was a black dog.
Yeah.
So, you know, they absorbed the heat. And he just, it was heart-wrenching, because never in my life would I have dreamed that early in the morning that he would have gotten that hot that quick.
Yeah. And it's something that we're not aware of, because we're not covered mostly by hair. You know, we have our skin. Heat is able to leave our body really easily. But when they have, especially when they have longer hair, that heat's getting trapped inside of their bodies and it can't escape. And that's what overwhelms the thermoregulation system. And that breaks my heart to hear that.
It breaks my heart, but I'm so glad you shared that story, because it might save a dog. Yeah. It might save somebody's dog when they didn't think. And Trina told us this great story, just like the woman whose dog hit her in the face with the airbag. If we can save an animal with a tragedy, let's save one, you know?
Absolutely. And I mean, he was this dog that y'all, no one would have ever thought he would have died like that, because literally I was a Mary Kay girl, and we went to church one night, and I had all this Valentine basket of stuff. I had lotion wrapped up in little things, and lip gloss in little things, and some of it had Hershey Kisses here. And the Hershey Kisses were in cellophane bags, in with the lip gloss, in with the lotion. So they weren't open. And the same night, my husband was he took the trash can out from underneath the kitchen sink, and he meant to set it in the garage. And the last thing he had put in the trash can was coffee grounds.
Oh my goodness.
We came home from church, and we were only gone like an hour. He had opened every package out of my Mary Kay. He had puncture wounds in lip gloss, in lotion. It was gooey. He unwrapped every Hershey Kiss and ate them all. He left the full. He left the full. He unwrapped them.
Oh my gosh.
He ate the coffee grounds. There was coffee grounds all over our house. There was aluminum foil all over the floor.
But you know, the coffee grounds might have saved him because that chocolate could kill him, but the coffee grounds could have absorbed. That actually might have saved him. Oh my!
I did not leave this where this dog could have gotten it without a lot of work, and I did not leave it just open candy in a dish where he could have got it. I never dreamed that he would have went to that much trouble. And I told Wayne, I go, well, do we sit up with him? Or is like the caffeine between the chocolate and the coffee going to make him a nut all night? I mean, we didn't. I said, I'm just going to go to sleep if he's still alive in the morning. Oh, well. Well, that was in February, and he lived till summer, so.
It's hard not to be impressed.
I know, yeah.
First you're angry, but then you're kind of impressed, like, wow, you did all that work.
Exactly. And I'm like going, you just destroyed like $300 worth of product. And I didn't know whether to cry or laugh. I really didn't. That was a moment.
Oh, God, that's funny. But you know what? He was bored. Again, you know, they always say, sometimes when we leave a dog alone, it's better to confine them because they're going to walk around until they find something to do. And yours found something to do.
Yes. That was before we learned about crates and how to really train them. And we'd still have a crate. But Charlie told us he would not be trained in a crate because literally, y'all, he would have eat the plastic or the metal bars out. Or lost all of his teeth trying to.
And I actually forgot something critical. When you travel, if you can travel with a fold down crate, that is critical. If you are evacuated, if you are in a disaster area and have to go to a shelter, they will not let you bring your dog in unless you have a crate. We were evacuated in a fire, and thank goodness, because I would have stood outside in the fire with my dog. I would not have gone into the shelter if I hadn't had a crate with me. So a flat crate, they fold up small. They only take up a little bit of room. They're not that big. It's very important to travel with.
Well, my other two boys, we had a canvas that looked like a tent. It kind of popped up and it would fold down, but it was soft on the sides. So it traveled really well, and it was great for our camper and things like that. And they were such good dogs. I couldn't find another one of those when we were taking a trip, and I needed one for my other boy, the ones that were kind of like cousins.
Yeah.
And I went to the Dollar Tree and I found a little zipper travel laundry hamper. And it's net. And it was nothing that if a dog wanted out, I mean, it would have been nothing to have gotten out of. But they were so crate trained that when in the hotel rooms, I could say, boys, we call them the condos, because at home, they're crates stacked on top of each other in our laundry room. And Chance had the high rise and Rudy had the ground floor because he was chunky and couldn't jump in the high rise.
Oh my God.
So, but when we traveled, they had their own little crates, but they, one of them had a fold up window. And of course the other one was net. They had to be able to see each other. It was so fun. Like, you don't see each other when you're stacked on top of each other. Why you guys see each other? It was like they whimpered, and I had to roll the top up to where they could see each other. Dogs are so funny. You just don't know.
But you know, they are pretty amazing. But you leave them alone with nothing to do, they're gonna find something. And it's usually not what you want. And you know, like one of the number one killers of puppies is chewing on electrical cords. The number one killer of a puppy is getting hit by a car because he wasn't on a leash. And the number 2 killer of puppies is electrical cords. They don't know that they're not supposed to chew those. Wow, it's coming out of the wall. That looks kind of cool. And they go and they chew on them and they get electrocuted. So again, confining an animal when they're little is really for their own safety. It really is. And then you're going to come home and everything's going to be fine. And your newest, they only go for the most expensive shoes if they're going to eat shoes. Yeah. They don't go for the cheap ones.
I was really blessed that when we've had shoes around Charlie, he went for my 99-cent Old Navy flip-flops. And the little spongy ones that were kind of like his dog. Yeah. They were the texture of his dog shoes that he's got. So I was just like, well, if you've got to leave teeth marks, I'm good with that. There you go.
New toys.
Funny. Yeah.
Right?
Well, and talking about tooth marks, I think we should talk a little bit about nutrition, because it's so important, Trina, that our animals are fed properly. So go for it,
especially
Christine.
when you're traveling. You don't want to have any nightmares to deal with when you're picking up their poop everywhere you go.
Yes, very important.
As we've learned, you want it to be nice and healthy poop. And I think it's something that we kind of overlook and take for granted, because we go to the store, and there are 5 aisles of foods to choose from. And we got to figure out which one will be best out of the thousands of bags to choose from. And you just assume that a lot of these manufacturers are giving you something quality. And we don't realize that just like even stuff for us that are in those same stores is not good, right? Like it's processed. It has like really bad detrimental ingredients that are actually outlawed in other countries. Yeah, it's really, really bad. And you look at 90% of the pet food and treat brands that we're all familiar with, we've grown up giving them to our pets, are made by only 3 manufacturers: Mars, Smuckers, and Nestle.
So healthy and nutritious?
Nope. Candy companies make it.
Yeah. Nope.
So there should not be anything bad in the foods that we're giving them. There shouldn't be any sugars in anything that we're giving them. If you're giving them something with sugars, get rid of it. There should be nothing that says animal byproducts. These are unclean meat sources. That could include euthanized animals, Trina, roadkill, animals that are too sick for human consumption, all get sold to pet food manufacturers at a discount. And they call it animal byproducts. So I don't recommend giving your pet anything with animal byproducts in it. Also, anything genetically modified, stay away from wheat, corn, soy, especially corn. I don't know if you've seen a baby's diaper after they've eaten corn, but there's no reason why there should be corn in anything that we're giving our pets. Not only does it have 0 nutritional value for them, but it can actually be detrimental to them. It's just a filler. It's meant to just fill them up, fill their stomachs. It's a cheap way to do it. And it's a way to make money. And so we stay away from wheat and corn and soy and all of those types of things. Anything artificial or synthetic, like colorings, chemicals, additives, preservatives, dyes, all of those things, just stay away from them. We want to make sure we're giving our pets whole foods and the proper nutrition. And if you are curious, if your pet is having nutritional issues and you don't know what that might look like, you'll notice that their hair will get really dull. They'll get a lot of split ends. Their hair will get coarse. Those are good signs of malnutrition or malabsorption. Their hair will grow really slowly. They'll get dry skin scales. They'll get pressure sores. Their hair will lose its color. Those are all signs that they're not getting all of the nutrients that they need into their diets, among many others. So just make sure that you're giving your pets whole foods. And there's a specific guideline that you want to make sure any food you're giving your pets adheres to. It's called the AAFCO. And any pet food manufacturer that adheres to those guidelines will tell you that. It'll either be on the packaging or it'll be like in the product description when you're buying it online. So look for AAFCO whenever you're buying any food for your pets. Pet Club 24/7 adheres very strictly to that. And that's why in over 30 years, the formulator of the Pet Club 24/7 food, the formulators have not had one recall. in decades
Nice.
on any of the foods that they formulated. That's very, very important because they stick to those guidelines and they adhere to them. And when you're also giving your pets foods, you want to look for foods that have like probiotics in them, prebiotics in them, things that are going to give them good, proper gut health. Having your pet on proper nutrition is not only going to make them feel better and live longer, but also as you travel with them, since that's what we've been talking about, it's going to make the trip much more enjoyable for you. You won't have to stop as much. It'll be much easier to pick up their poop because it's very consistent and you don't have to worry about any of that. And so proper nutrition really is key. And it's funny because most of the conditions that our pets are dealing with actually stems from that, their immune systems being so weakened by the foods that we're buying from the stores. And we have no clue.
And can I go one further on that one too? I think the way that their systems, I think we're learning a lot from the last 4 years. And I know you girls are good patriots. I'm not a vaxxer anymore.
Mm-mm.
I know y'all may feel different about it. And that's one reason Charlie doesn't get boarded. That's one reason he doesn't go to places where he would need vaccines all the time. He got a 3-year rabies 3 years ago. And I'm just not going to over vaccinate my animal because that shortens their lives, in my opinion. They don't need heavy metals, and all the vaccines have that stuff in it. And pets have an issue with things like that. So
we're right there with you, Trina.
But
100%. And Kristen's going to tell you something about why they've changed where they put the vaccines. You're going to love this. But for rabies, if they get it one time, they can get a titer test, which is a blood test. And when that blood test comes through, it can show that there's enough rabies vaccine in the body that they don't need another one. So if you have to have a health certificate to fly or to stay a certain place, the titer test, which is a little blood test, can suffice. Tell them about why they've changed where they're doing the vaccines.
Well, first and foremost, why do you vaccinate? What's the purpose of vaccination? Immunity. Well, guess what? There's already an entire immune system developed in their body, intelligently designed to give them immunity. So why do we need anything outside of that? So that's first and foremost the issue is why are we vaccinating them for immunity anyway when they already have an immune system that's working on immunity from these things, and we can just feed that and support that and then they'll be fine. And we're vaccinating them on something that they may or may not ever get in their lifetime. And on top of that, let's say they do get it. It may or it may not hurt them. So we're definitely going to put all of these harmful substances into their body to protect them against something that they may or may not get. And if they get it, they may or may not survive. It doesn't make any sense. And the vaccinations are raising. They're now requiring them more frequently. They're also requiring more and more vaccines. They're requiring higher dosages. There's no difference in the dosage size between what a Chihuahua and a Great Dane gets. They get the same exact amount of vaccine. That's not science. That's not even logical. And anyone that with any critical thinking skills should question that. But have you noticed that, and you might not have noticed this, but a lot of times when they're vaccinating your pets, remember they used to do it in the back of their neck, like years and years and years ago. And now they stopped doing it on the back of their neck. And now they do the injections in their thighs and their back legs and their thighs. The reason that they changed locations is because it's easier to remove tumors from their thighs than it is to remove them from the back of their necks.
Okay, everybody just let that sink in just a minute. Injection, tumors.
Exactly. With pets.
For
so
animals.
Yeah. So imagine with people. It's just.
Yeah, we're just going to let that sit there and not say a whole lot because this is on YouTube.
Yeah. And so I just always encourage people, use your critical thinking skills. Like if it's immunity that you're looking for, then go get immunity, right? There are hundreds of studies that have been done on the Coriolis versicolor mushroom. Over 400 published studies. Many of the studies were actually published in the National Library of Medicine. This is something that's been studied for over 50 years.
Yep.
And so if like the science behind it is irrefutable, and there are no side effects, pet can't get addicted, they can't overdose, there doesn't interact with any medications or treatments, it's just a food, it's not a cure for anything, it's just a food that feeds the immune system, and then the immune system then can go protect the body, can provide immunity from these different things that they may or may not get, can help their bodies repair and recover, you know, if they get heat exhaustion or heat stroke, or if they are traveling around and they're exposed to all of these new environments, yes, new bugs, new toads or frogs, right? Different weather, new climate, all of these things that their body's not used to, their own body can regulate and help them to adapt to all these various environments once it has the support it needs. And so, you know, as we always do anything, or any conversations that we ever have, always come back to being as proactive and preventative as we can, so that we don't have to get to the point where we have to make these hard decisions, or, you know, react to something horrific or tragic like your friend's dog with the, you know, the airbag. We should never have to hopefully ever be in that situation.
Well, and you know, you also said we have to be aware that there are moments that we have heard many. I just had a call the other day of animals that are on their last leg, and the veterinarians have said it's time, we need to put this baby down, and maybe mommy or daddy just isn't quite there yet because they just don't feel it's time. I mean, we know our pets, and sometimes they'll look at us and tell us it's time. Sometimes they'll look at us and say, I'm not ready. We've had hundreds of stories of animals that have been taken home on hospice, who have loaded up with the Coriellus versicolor mushroom, and, you know, 3, 4, 5 years of good quality life left in them. Not sick life, good quality life. So it is always something. And again, everything that we try to do, Trina, we don't try to break the bank. Our super sauce is less than $10 a month. I mean, $10 a month, where can you get anything for $10 a month? Think about what one vet visit would cost. We just really want to get this message out. But Kristen was talking about about good health. Yeah. I have this picture, and I don't know if I showed it to you last time, but this is Daphne. And I don't know if you can see, Daphne's ribs are showing.
Yeah.
Daphne was 18 months old and could not retain nutrition, and nobody knew why. Doctors, vets, everybody tried every test. I kept thinking it's some kind of a parasite, but we just gave the body's immune system the opportunity to do what it does best. We put this baby on a lot of mushrooms, and we did it every 2 hours. And within 4 days, this baby was literally pooping solid again. And this is Daphne 1 month later.
Wow.
I mean, look at the difference.
Awesome.
In Daphne. I mean, look at this, 1 month. And it was just because we gave the immune system a little bit of support and let the immune system do what God intended it to do, which is to work perfectly. So that's our story, and we're sticking to it.
I love that. I love good stories like that. That makes me so happy. And just so our audience knows, anybody that comes across this video, you're actually now a part of our audience. From now on, we claim you. Yeah. The email below that I put the banner back up, trinawpets@gmail.com. If you take a picture of the dog food that you feed your dogs, if you feed your dogs dog food, because I don't do mine table scraps, but I do make his food. I make my boys food. I do give him kibble at night, but I have sent a picture of his bag of kibble that we had, because it was a 40-pound bag, and I'm not getting rid of it just because it costs like $80. So he gets that because his little belly gets hungry from homemade food at 4 o'clock in the morning. And we had to do something to supplement to make it be a little more solid so I could sleep. But you can take a picture of your dog food bag and email that to Miss Diana, and she will give you a thumbs up or say, why don't you try this, this, or this? She's not going to just try to sell her food. Nope. But she's going to say, if you love this brand, switch to this within that brand. But I'm just going to tell you, you know, if you're needing to switch and stay in a brand, chances are some of the other that's not so good was probably run through the same machine that the other was. So you might want to think about that. That's all I'm going to say about that, because we're not really trying to sell anything. We want the people that love their animals for them to be safe, for them to have the best nutrition to where they have a quality of a long life, and to where they excel at aging. They don't just gimp along and you know, age out to where the last 2 years of their life all they can do is lay on the floor and go outside and go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
It really is a mission that we're on, Trina. And, you know, when I see that the #1 selling dog food is the #2 highest recalled food, and the #1 food that is recommended by our veterinarians is the #2 or #1 recalled, I can't remember which one, it makes me sad. And sometimes it's just a tiny change that we need to make. And I applaud you for making Charlie's food. You know, it's not as hard as people think. And it's not as expensive as people think. It is time consuming, but.
Ours is not. I mean, literally, my husband thought I was going to just break the bank fixing dog food. And about 2 months ago, he finally did the cost analysis on it. Y'all were spending like a third of the money making his food. We watch when we go to the grocery store for any of the free range or, you know, meat products that are not necessarily just put out there in the store. You know, I won't say it's all organic, but you can find some stuff that's free range and it's better prices.
Mm-hmm.
But we try to mix it up between beef liver, chicken livers. We'll, you know, every now and then he'll put ground beef in it, but not usually. We do ground turkey sometimes. We just do a variety. If he finds some little steaks, he'll chop them up pretty fine and put that in it. But y'all, we do about 2 or 3 pounds of meat of some form. We have a 6-quart crock pot.
Yep.
We throw the meat in there. We throw in a bag of frozen spinach, a bag of peas and carrots, and sometimes a whole bag of peas or a whole bag of carrots, sometimes green beans. I mean, we mix his vegetables up a little bit. Every now and then we'll cube up a sweet potato just for differences. And then I do a can of pumpkin. If I do millet, I put the millet in at the same time sometimes I'll cook it an hour and then throw in like 2 cups of millet. And I use 5 or 6 eggs. I beat them just like I'm going to scramble them and pour that in there. Stir it up good. I put some nutritionals in it at the end after I've cooked it all. And that stuff cooks in 4 or 5 hours. Cooks. We don't have any, you know, I just stir it and let it go. And if I do quinoa instead of millet, I put it in after I've cooked everything in the last 20 or 30 minutes while it's really hot. And I just turned it off. I put the quinoa in there because it'll overcook if you put it in there. And y'all, we scoop it up with an ice cream scoop into 3 or 4 muffin tins, set it in the freezer, let it freeze, pop them into gallon bags. And he gets one of those every morning.
It's so easy. It's so easy. So the thing people can do is they can also get the freeze-dried food and put it on as a topper, because then you know you're getting the extra mushroom, the extra antler powder for the minerals, because sometimes there's can be some lacking in the minerals. But I applaud you for your efforts. You're a good fur baby mama.
that the minerals and stuff is usually what I put in there on his, because I had a few of I had some, and he can't take it just sprinkled on his food. But if I put it in that and stir it in, he does well with it, because he kind of got a puny belly sometimes. Wow. But thank you, girls, so much. And thank you for making quality dog products. Yeah. Thank you for my antler for my boy, because we don't do rawhide either, y'all. If you ain't listen, we don't do rawhides.
Or
put them in the trash, because they're from the pit of hell.
They are.
As well as
literally are.
And the pig's ears also. Pig's ears are also, if you would see how they were harvested, you would never buy those. So
yes.
But yeah, I mean, that's how I really got to meet you, was your story on the rawhide with Charlie. If you hadn't told that story on one of the podcasts, I would have never reached out to you, because I just could feel the pain you were going through.
And we're still having issues that damaged his throat tissue.
Oh yeah.
I have to watch him. I even have to watch him with giving him the little biscuit, I've got the mush puppy sitting here in front of me. The
Mojo?
Mojo's?
Bucky Bite.
Oh, the Bucky
The
Bite.
Bucky Bite. That's it.
Oh, yeah, because
I started with a B, but I couldn't get it.
Yeah.
That being, y'all, they're like little tea cake biscuits. They're like a shortbread cookie for us almost, but they're miniatures. But because of the powdery kind of dryness of it, stuff like that, ever since he messed his throat up, he almost gags and can't get those down, because it's like I tell him, would you go get a drink of water? You just need to wash it down, because he loves them. Yeah. And they taste really good. And then he'll get about halfway through it and it's like, oh, that's hanging in my throat. And he'll start.
You can actually add a little bit of water to it. Let it absorb the water before he eats it. And that'll help with dogs that have the throat problems or the sore throats like that. That's what will help them.
We also have people that put low sodium chicken broth on them too.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it just tells me that he did do some damage.
Oh yeah.
So,
but it can
don't do rawhides. Just don't do rawhides.
But I think the immune system, with the continuation of mush puppies with this,
it'll repair it.
It'll repair. It's going to take some time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's going to take some time.
Well, thank you girls so much. And y'all come and hang out with me again really soon. And I appreciate the knowledge so much. And everybody, you can email them down below, or you can just place an order. Trina W. What is it? I'm telling them the email because I'm looking at
wpets.com.
Yes, that's it.
Then when you get there, to go to shop now and then pick humans, dogs, cats, or horses. We have products for all of the above. And if you get stuck, just email me.
Yes. And they do. They have stuff for the people. They have stuff for the horses, the cats, everything.
Yep.
They're gonna get you well. Just give it a go. So thank you, ladies, so much. And for everybody, we'll see you again really soon.
Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye. Thank you.